This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 2290, How to Develop Patience. 6 Tips to Help You Become More Patient in Life, Part 1, by Sabrina of buddingoptimist.com. And I'm Justin Malik. Today I have a bit of a longer post. I'll read the first half today and then finish the rest for you tomorrow. So with that, let's get right to Part 1 and start optimizing your life. How to Develop Patience. 6 Tips to Help You Become More Patient in Life, Part 1, by Sabrina of buddingoptimist.com. How can I improve my patience? Some people seem to have been born with all the patience in the world, don't they? They never seem hot and bothered by the traffic, by the lines in the grocery store, by the waiter who gets their order wrong, or by the coworker who complains all the time while doing so little. It's like nothing and no one ever phases them. I'm unfortunately not one of these people. I let things get to me. I snap at people from time to time, and sometimes I get so frustrated I let my emotions swell until they explode. But over the years, I've learned how to be more patient with myself, with others, and with life. And in this article, I'm going to share with you a few great lessons I've learned about patience, along with some tips that have helped me become a more patient person. Lesson number 1. Patience is a skill. I once thought patience is a characteristic you either have or you don't, and there wasn't much you can do about it, until I realized how much potential we human beings have in growing, adapting, and changing ourselves, from our physical capabilities to our mindset and attitude. There's a book called Mindset by a renowned psychologist and researcher, Carol Dweck, that delves deep into this topic if you're interested. As soon as I started to view patience as a skill I can improve on, I worked on getting better at it instead of brushing my impatience off as who I am. Sure, people are born with different dispositions and some may be naturally more impatient than others, but that doesn't mean we are fixed in stone. We can always make progress towards becoming more patient. Lesson number 2, nobody is making you impatient. I lost my patience because he's not listening. I lost my patience because she's taking too long. I lost my patience because the situation is just too frustrating. Well, most of us have said something along these lines before, but nobody but ourselves is at the helm of our emotions. Nobody else but ourselves can make us lose our patience. Sure, there are all kinds of frustrating moments and people we encounter in our lives, but how we choose to respond has always been and will always be up to us. Lesson number 3, patience is not about bottling up your emotions. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should suck it up and put on a strained smile no matter what happens to us. My idea of patience is not about bottling up emotions or being a doormat. In fact, I believe bottling up our emotions can be counter-effective to our patience-building efforts. I tried doing it for a while and it just made my eventual burst of emotions that much more explosive. Instead, I believe a more healthy way of handling our impatience is to become aware of our emotions. For example, I'm becoming restless waiting in this traffic, and let them out in more productive ways. Like, let's groove to some good tunes on Spotify. Now you must be thinking, yes, these lessons about patience are great, but what can I actually do to improve patience? Here are some tips. 6 practical tips on how to develop patience in life. Number 1, be aware of your impatience triggers. The first step to becoming more patient is knowing what makes you impatient. What are the things that particularly get on your nerves? Do you have moments in a day when your patience level is especially low? For example, just after you wake up or near the end of the workday or when you're hungry? What situations make you feel stressed, since stress is linked to patience? Start building a list of your impatience triggers. Did anything surprise you or make you go, huh? Do you recognize any patterns? Number 2, create plans on how you will cope with triggers. Now that you have a list of your impatience triggers, you can start creating contingency plans on how you can cope if a trigger comes up. For example, if someone repeatedly interrupts me in the middle of a conversation that really irritates me, instead of showing my frustration in an unproductive manner, not saying anything until I can't take it anymore and blow up and walk away, I've created a plan that if I encounter this situation, I will speak up and let the person know that I'm not finished and ask politely but firmly that I would like to finish. And better yet, you can create plans on how to avoid your impatience triggers or lessen their impact. For example, if you know your patience runs thin when you're tired, don't leave the most difficult or time and energy consuming tasks like teaching a tough procedure to a new coworker towards the end of the day. Number 3, hear that in tomorrow's episode. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled, How to Develop Patience, 6 Tips to Help You Become More Patient in Life by Sabrina of buddingoptimist.com. Thank you to Sabrina. I'll save my comments for tomorrow after we finish up this post. So with that, thank you for being here and listening every day, including the weekends, and we'll continue this post tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.